Trinity has a rich history. The church is celebrating its 85th anniversary this year. Psalm 145:4 says, "One generation shall praise your works to another, and shall declare your mighty acts." It's important to know that about 8,600 members have walked these halls before us. It's their legacy with the Lord that has made Trinity the church home we know and love today. Trinity just didn't happen on this spot by accident. It was placed here by God, and how things were worked out was just tremendous. A German pastor from the German Evangelical Church contacted First Baptist Church pastor, and he said, "We have a church over on Highway 77 and Frank Street, and we don't use it all the time, and would you like to rent it?" So the pastor got one of his parishioners, who was a young man named Anson Justice, who was a student at OU, and he said, "Would you like to get some of our members, and let's go start a mission, and we can rent the German Evangelical Church." A little over 100 people came over and started what was called at that time the Little Chapel on the Highway. They continued to meet there until 1932, when Anson was ordained as a pastor, and he had goals that he wanted for this church. They were going to be a soul-winning church. 2, they would be a tithing church, and they would give to the cooperative missions. They were going to be doctrinally sound. They were going to be a spiritual church separated from the rest of the world, so people knew what they were. A loving church where people would come and know that they were not only loved by God, but they were also loved by the people who were there. And then to be the church with one message, and that was the crucified Christ. A few years later, in 1934, the church became incorporated, and they had 93 charter members and then some other people who came along with them. At that point, they were incorporated and became known as Trinity Baptist Church of Christ. The first 2 checks that were written by this little church were kept in concert with what their goal was. They were made to cooperative missions. Then in 1942, TBC bought a small house, a 2-story, 10-room bungalow-type house that they converted and used it for several years. In 1946, the first group went to Falls Creek. So they've been doing Falls Creek for many, many years. In 1951, they issued some bonds of about $50,000 to make a church building. During that time, we did purchase additional property, which I think was later converted to parking space. So in 1967, the original sanctuary was then converted to what we now have as classroom space, and a new auditorium was built. There was a lady, she had lost her husband and 2 sons, and she one day went to a lawyer and had a church member go with her, and she gave all her property to Trinity Baptist Church. The amount at that time was $46,000. She sold her business and her house and everything. The church member said, "We need to tell the pastor what you're doing." And Mrs. Smalley, to quote her, said, No, I don't want anyone to know until after I've died. I do not want any of the glory to go to Mrs. Laura Smalley. I want all the glory to go to God, who gave himself for me." And that's the way it was. But then when we were doing the revamping, the fellowship hall downstairs, where here I grow now, was called Smalley Hall for many, many years. Then in 1977, there was a massive building program. We did the fellowship hall, we redid that, and then we did the Family Life Center. Shortly thereafter, Bill Elliff was called as a pastor, and that was in 1980. It was one of the biggest growth times in Trinity. We actually got up to around 1,400 members, lots and lots of college students. We at that point had 3 services because we just couldn't accommodate everyone. During that time, we bought some land down south of Highway 9 with the intention of building. However, some hard times hit Trinity for various reasons, so our attendance dropped, but you can still see God moving in Trinity. It still was here for a purpose. Just like when it came in 1931, there's a purpose for Trinity right here. In 1995, the Lord called Randy Presley to be the minister of music, and then 3 years later, Ronnie Rogers was called as a pastor, and Ryan Pope came along in the leadership of Trinity, and then Chris Haynes joined in 2007. During their tenure, Trinity Baptist has been marked by equipping members who share the gospel both here at home and abroad. The Lord has used so many people throughout Trinity's history to bring us where we are today. It will be exciting to see how He uses us in continuing the legacy.